So for today's tutorial, we are going to be top stitching stripes onto this zebra. So the zebra is basically all white, other than the mane, which is black and white, and the nose and the feet and, you know, the tail and this dorsal stripe running down the back. But other than that, I guess, and some on the ears, we're dealing with essentially a white horse. I have started doing a little bit of the top stitching with the stripes here, and now I'm gonna take a minute to show you guys how I do that. This could also be used for basically any other project where you want to have kind of more realistic stripes. So what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using a 3.5mm hook and some just black medium weight yarn, also known as like worsted weight or a size 4. So what we're going to do to top stitch, in the pattern I have kind of drawn on like recommended placement for the stripes, but you can do basically whatever you want because zebras all have very unique stripes, and so, you know, use your creative license on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook underneath a stitch and then back through on the other side, and we're going to pull our yarn through like this. That way we've got a loop and we've got a tail. So we're going to kind of pull the tail off to the side, and then we're going to go under, just right here underneath the stitch we just kind of went through, and through the next stitch we'll yarn over and we're going to pull through like that, and that creates our top stitch. Basically we're just doing a slip stitch, and like I said, you can kind of do whatever designs you want, and then when you've reached the end where you want to cut it, you know, this is how far I want to go, I'm just going to slip stitch into that last one. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut a like 1 to 2 inch yarn tail. I don't want it to be crazy long, but I also don't want it to be so short that I can't weave in the ends. So then you're going to go through here, and oops, I didn't quite grab all of that yarn strand there. Yep, just like that, just weave in the ends. You're going to do that on both sides. Oops, there we go. And so that is what that stripe looks like. So the nice thing about this top stitching and the fact that we're just doing slip stitches is that if you end up not liking the design that you just made, you know, before you cut and weave in the ends, you can just pull it right out. You know, so say I didn't like that last stitch, I can just pull it out. Which, I mean, is the beautiful thing about crocheting, right? So if you're going to try and turn corners, so to get more of a so on this stripe I want to go up here and then I want to go down. So I'm going to slip stitch in that one as if that was like the end, like I was going to cut it and tie it off at this point. And then I'm going to go underneath here and start into, you know, start making my next, well, it's the same stripe continuing, but it's changed directions. So just kind of doing that slip stitch there kind of helps it to be able to change directions a little bit more cleanly. So now I'm going to tie this off. And I'm going to pull it, because you can see it's kind of raised here, so I'm going to pull it this way so that it lays nice and flat. And then I'm going to weave in the ends. So I see this technique also being really applicable on say a cat pattern. If you are trying to make a cat that has very unique stripes. You know, maybe you're trying to replicate a friend's cat or your cat, kind of exactly. Lots of cats have stripes, and so you could do this, you know, maybe make the body the base color, whatever it is, whether it's like orange or it's gray, you know, and then you could go in with the colors of stripes that that particular cat has and kind of match it a little bit more closely than when you're just trying to crochet normally. You know, this top stitching gives you a lot of creativity, a lot of freedom to kind of use your creativity and to you know, to give more lifelike, realistic stripes. And of course, on these stripes, like on this zebra, you could make them really close together. Like this feels like it needs some right here. Definitely going to end up doing some in here. I mean, stripes on the body and everything like that. So, but that's the tutorial. That's how you do it. All right, crocheters, so I got all of the striping done on the zebra, and this is what it looks like. I love it. I'm very, very thrilled with how it turned out. In all honesty, getting all of these stripes on did take a while. One of the things that I realized that helped it not take quite so long, especially when I was working kind of on the back and on the legs, was that instead of like starting here, coming up to the top of the spine and ending, I made the stripes on the back continue all the way across, because the less cutting and tying off and weaving in the ends you have to do, the faster it goes. And then also on the legs, I did a continuous spiral starting up here and then spiraling around the whole leg and then tying off and weaving in the ends. So just a little tip if this is indeed the pattern you're going to be following, or if you're just going to be using this technique on another project, that might also be a helpful hint as you're going along. One question I think might be asked, so I'm going to try and answer it here, is do you have to use medium weight yarn or worsted weight or a size 4 yarn to do stripes? And here's my thought. I have tried, because I'm like kind of playing around with this idea and experimenting with it just a little bit. I have tried using Bernat blanket velvet, Bernat velvet, which is technically a size 5 for stripes as well. I thought that they were too big for the zebra, so I didn't end up using this on here. But on this other project I'm kind of working with, it works pretty good. So the reason why I am using lighter weight yarns rather than, I mean, this entire zebra is made with Bernat blanket yarn, which is a size 6. So the reason why I'm not just using the same black Bernat blanket yarn for the stripes here, not only would they be too wide, but they are also raised. And so you would be able to kind of run your hand down the side and you would feel like raised bumps. Like the stripes wouldn't look like they were a part of the animal. They would look like they had been top stitched on. You know, it wouldn't have that same feel. Whereas with the medium weight yarn, you can see they're pretty darn flush. I mean, they're just right there. There's no like raised bumps. They fit really seamlessly, really perfectly with the project. In my opinion, the Bernat velvet, even though it says it's a size 5, it kind of works up like a size 4. So it's the thing that I love about it is that it's going to give the projects I use it on just like a more plush, gorgeous look. So I'm super excited about that. And it will be a little bit more raised than the stripes here with the worsted weight yarn, but it's not going to be so much so that it looks like it's not a part of the project. Like I think this is going to work. So that's kind of my reasoning behind using medium weight yarn. So that goes to kind of beg the question, could you use, you know, like a sock weight, you know, a size 3, a size 2 for doing different stripes on things? I think absolutely. They're like, the smaller it is, the thinner the stripe is going to be, but you're not going to have to worry about the bumps being, the stripes being raised at all. They should fit in pretty seamlessly. But if you're going to be using a project that is made out of Bernat blanket yarn, like most of my projects are, which is a size 6 yarn, I wouldn't go higher than a size 5 for doing top stitching. That is just my recommendation. Of course, you're welcome to do whatever you want. Play around with, you know, your creativity and all of these different projects and just have lots of fun. But those are kind of my tips and ideas for this tutorial. So I hope you guys are able to use it and have lots of creative crochet fun.